Hey everybody, before we start the show today, I wanted to talk to you about Investigatorstoolbox.com. This is the future of networking, training, and resource management. I am really excited by the amount of people that are in the site already and what's going on there, and the amount of training that we've got in there, the webinars, the blogs, OSINT resources, over 130, I think it's close to 140. This is where you guys want to be. If you are interested in bringing your business to the next level, if you're interested in networking with the best investigative minds that are out there, if you're interested in free training from some of the best investigators out there, you need to be in investigatorstoolbox.com. So it's investigators-toolbox.com. You want to go check it out. The legacy discount is ending very shortly. If you're interested, you need to join the site right away. If you wait too long, you're going to miss out on the $50 discount. Don't delay. Get in there. It's like 41 cents a day right now to get in there. If you can't afford 41 cents a day to make yourself better at what you're doing, what are you guys doing in this business, right? So investigatorstoolbox.com. I wanted to talk to you about that today, and go check it out. And we're going to start the show. Enjoy the show, guys.
Welcome to PI Perspectives. Matt catches up with soon-to-be president of ALDONYS, Dave Spencer. Dave operates a small investigation company in upstate New York, but has a wealth of experience. He served on the ALDONYS board since 2007. Matt and Dave discuss the importance of joining a state association and some of the plans ALDONYS has for 2021. Now please welcome Dave Spencer and your host, private investigator Matt Spaier.
And welcome everybody to this week's episode of PI Perspectives. Today we are back in New York, and I'm really honored to have a friend of mine, someone who's been kicking along with me on the board in ALDONYS. So today we've got Dave Spencer joining us. So Dave, how are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Yeah, that's a mighty nice t-shirt you got there.
Yes, ALDONYS.
Little ALDONYS, right?
Yep.
That's awesome, man. Really cool. You got the swag. You've earned it. Right? So you're in upstate New York. Tell me, folks, where exactly you're from, and what type of investigative work do you do?
I am right in the geographic center. If you were to take New York State and put your thumb right in the middle, you'd probably hit my house. I'm basically between Albany and Syracuse. Albany is on the east side and Syracuse on the west side. And basically for New York State, you go from New York City north to Albany, take a left and go to Buffalo, and then you still got about 4 hours north of us before you hit Canada.
Okay, you literally are right in the middle.
Yeah, and it kills me because everybody says, upstate, and that means everything north of Central Park. But
Right.
to me, I'm in Central, and I've still got 4 hours north of me.
Wow.
So I'm Central, and that's Northern.
So the cases that you work on, do you find yourself like traveling all through New York, or you pretty much just handle up in that area?
It depends on who my client is. I had a client who was an attorney, and she was going out and being preventative in the realm of women and minority-owned businesses. Mm-hmm. So she was involved with the construction industry, and so wherever there was a construction site with one of her clients, I'd have to go and make sure that they were following all the rules for women and minority-owned businesses.
Okay.
Also had a contract with a company who does federal background checks. Apparently the government no longer does their own background checks. Right. And actually worked for a guy who was working for the company who did the background check on Snowden.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. And most of these are like federal law enforcement positions. So they do a real deep dive as far as their background. And, I was running up to Fort Drum a lot, which is in Watertown, New York, because a lot of the military police didn't want to be state police. And naturally, they had to pick a southern state that they wanted to go to. So I had to go, do neighborhood checks and subject interviews and things like that. So
sure.
I basically go all over the state.
Sure. I remember when I was in my 20s, I was living in Astoria in like a multi-family. I was renting like an apartment there, and I got a knock on my door. And it was apparently the federal government. They were doing a background check on my neighbor who had to be like an analyst. And the guy actually, he was Middle Eastern, And it was about, that time.
Yep.
And really nice guy, like nice, super nice family. I don't know whatever happened, but he was okay in my books, the neighbor. But yeah,
Yeah.
definitely they go out and they knock on doors, and people get vetted, and that's cool. So
Yeah.
what is your background before you got into owning your own business? I mean, you've got a pretty impressive background, and it's something you don't really talk about. So tell me a little bit about how you got started and where you came from.
Um, I grew up in Herkimer County, which is, like I said, in the middle of the state. Um, and here, this is going to be a real big surprise to you and to anybody else. My chosen profession was basically sealed around 7th grade. I started taking drum lessons around 4th grade. And at that time, it was 2 drumsticks and a little rubber pad.
Right.
And then when you get into junior band, you got to play on an actual drum in junior band and progress up to senior band. Well, apparently I did okay, because in 6th grade, the high school band director yanked me out and threw a drum over my shoulder, and I was in the high school marching band at 6th grade.
Wow.
And I played music a lot. I mean, everything from drum corps to country to rock.
That's great.
Uh,
I had
actually,
no idea you were a drummer. I'm a bass player. No wonder we're friends. That's great.
And what's interesting is one of the bands I played with was a country band and was sponsored by a radio station. So every time they had like a big store opening or whatnot, they would do a remote broadcast, and the band would come along, and we wouldn't take any money because we would pool it all. And like for 2 years, we took that money and went to what was then the National Disc Jockeys Convention in Nashville.
Wow.
And so I got to meet every single country star except for, I think, Buck Owens and Johnny Cash.
Wow.
And got to play with Loretta Lynn,
Oh,
Patsy Cline,
yeah.
all these other people, Merle Haggard. Coincidentally, I says, look, there's Dick Clark at this world premiere for a movie. And I walked up, might have been in the bag a little bit. And I says, hi, I just wanted to meet you. And he says, oh, where are you from? I says, upstate New York. Oh, whereabouts? I says, Utica. He goes, I used to work there. So he had his roots, Dick Clark had his roots right up here in Utica.
He was everywhere. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
So anyways, I played symphony orchestras, everything all through high school.
Right.
Went on to college and decided I was going to be a music teacher. So 5 years of college to be a certified New York State teacher. And I wish now I almost didn't do that, because I'm a drummer and we play notes on one line.
Right.
And their theory was, if you're going to teach music to a high school kid, you have to be able to play to 5 sharps and 5 flats on every instrument.
Sure.
So you can imagine how much fun it was for me to sit down with 2 pieces of reed and make a bassoon reed, and then play a piece that had 5 sharps and 5 flats. So that was horrible.
Yeah, that's impressive. You're able to get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah. I to me, I don't understand drum music. When I see it, it looks like hieroglyphics to me. But
No one knows.
Yeah, show me anything else, and I can find my way. I used to be able to sight read pretty well, but when you don't use it, you lose it.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm more of a just kind of find my way. I've always had the ability to have an ear and pick something up. I mean, from a very early age, there was always a piano in my house, and I'd just sit down and start banging out Imagine, because I thought it sounded cool. And
Yep.
my sisters all had lessons, but I didn't. So. All right, enough about the music stuff. Tell me about the investigative stuff. How did you find your way that way?
Well, while I was in college, my work study job was to work security for the food service, and checking fake IDs and theft of services and whatnot. I got pretty good at it. And it was during the Vietnam War era, and one of my famous arrests was General Westmoreland's son.
Really?
He was in charge of the Vietnam War. And so I was out of college doing some graduate work, playing professionally, doing some teaching, and took a job in security. And I had a guy that was a real great mentor. We had a big store that was set up for security purposes. I was averaging an arrest a day. And this other chain approached me and says, hey, would you help us out? And I said, sure. So, I helped them out. And eventually they says, we'd like you to be our corporate operative. So then they were, at the time, teaching jobs were few and far between. So I said, hey, what the heck? And so they would send me, we had, they had 128 stores, a chain of gas stations, and a whole bunch of other holdings. So they're shipping me all over the place undercover with an assumed name as a little bag boy and whatnot. And sure enough, I did really well at that. And during the course of that, I picked up on a lot of internal stuff. So make a long story short, I worked my way up to corporate security supervisor. And the nice part about that was they sent me back to college to get all my criminal justice stuff.
Right.
So now I've got a background, college background in criminal justice too.
Right.
So as corporate security supervisor, the company was founded by this guy. Let's say his name is Smith. So Smith had a couple sons and he had a daughter. And the sons became vice presidents, and the daughter married a guy who really wanted to be a vice president at any cost. And so I caught him doing some bad things. So he looked good. And he really got spanked bad. And sure enough, I caught him again. And the handwriting was on the wall. The management says, you catch him a third time, you're probably going to be out of a job.
Right.
So then I took a job with the great state of New York as an investigator with the State Office of Professional Discipline. They handle all professional licenses from pre-licensure to negligence, incompetence, civil, criminal, post-licensure things. And that was very interesting because I got to work with the FDA, the DEA, state narcotics,
Sure.
you name it, a lot of federal agencies. And that was a lot of fun. But it got to the point where due to state budgetary cuts and whatnot, you just couldn't do an investigation like it should be done.
Right.
And it was really very frustrating for many of us, because it's like, when you get an assignment, you sit down, you look at it, and you say, how do we get from point A to point B? And the best way to do a good, credible investigation to prove or disprove an allegation.
Right.
And the way they had you zipping around, and it just wasn't very efficient. So after 20 years, I left that. I got my PI license in 1989. So once I left state service, I was out on my own. And as many of you know, it's tough as a sole proprietor to really get a business going.
Oh, yeah.
So I started working for this guy up in Utica. He was pretty reputable. And he says, look, I got a lot of work. Let me just shove some at your way. And so he did that. And then he said, look, he says, I got an offer to be in charge of an SIU for a large insurance company. You want to buy my business? So there I go. I bought the business in 1999, 97. I'm not sure.
So,
And
did you change the name of the business, or did you buy the name from him?
I bought the name from him.
And that's
so I've got a corporate name and a DBA.
So it's confidential investigations, right?
Right. The corporate name is Briggs Investigative Services, Incorporated, which was named after Jerry Briggs, the founder, and I do a DBA as Confidential Investigations.
Right. Okay. All right. Cool. And what types of cases do you typically work on?
Since there aren't that many PI firms in the area, I kind of take whatever comes through the door if I can. Right. And if I can't, I'll, if it's totally out of my realm, I'll refer it to somebody else who can, or get the assistance of somebody, which is somebody like from ALDONYS or some of the other organizations. Yeah. And that's a major, major benefit.
Yeah. And we're going to talk more about ALDONYS later, because you're about to become the president of that great association. The benefits of being able to have that network of investigators all throughout your local state, by using your state association, it's a game changer. It really is.
Yep, it certainly is.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So, when did you first join ALDONYS? How long have you been a member?
I think around 1998, 97. I'm not sure. Right. A long time ago.
Who's counting, right? And then you've been on the board, I think, since 2007. Is that right, or did you start?
Yeah, yeah, that's about right. Okay. And actually, it was Bill Sullivan out of Syracuse who got me involved. He was, I think, he was a board member out of Syracuse. Right. And he says, "Come on, you got to go to one of these meetings." I says, "All right." Yeah. And, off we go to Albany for our first meeting.
Yeah, and the upstate really can be a challenge because it is spread out, right? So getting people together that are investigators to network where they've got to drive, maybe 2 hours to get to where they need to go. It's a lot to ask somebody, but there's that benefit, right? And we'll see how that how that changes during the post COVID world here, why everything is moving online and doing things.
Yep.
I think it's going to be a lot easier to network. That's just my own opinion on it. I think we'll
I
still
don't think
have
we have a choice.
yeah, I think there's still a need for the person to person, but
Yeah.
I see it being augmented by having these other things. There's other opportunities too. So, okay, so we're going to jump out real quick and just do a sponsor break. And when we come back, I really want to dig into ALDONYS, and we'll talk a little bit about the association. And I'm on the board too, and I'm kind of moving up right behind you. And
Yes, you are.
so we're just going to talk about some of the things that hopefully we can do next year, and your vision for what you see during your term as president, what you'd like to see get done, and all that. So hang tight. We'll be right back.
If you are a new private investigator, or if you operate a private investigation agency, you know that acquiring paying clients can be a struggle. Imagine a unique resource of marketing courses and programs made just for private investigators. Introducing the Six-Figure Investigator Marketing Program. It's a community of investigators all over the world learning to become master marketers of their brand. Membership is free for a limited time. Head over to privateinvestigatormentorship.com right now and secure your spot to learning the right way to market your brand. privateinvestigatormentorship.com.
Are you using a case management system? The answer is no. You should really rethink that process. Right. So as you guys know, Crosstracks has been an amazing sponsor of the show. They've just been really supportive. As you guys also know, I didn't used to have a case management system. I was the investigator that was fighting them tooth and nail. I finally decided to give it a whirl. What a great decision, right? During the COVID shutdown, I was able to actually roll my whole business into it and get completely up and running. And my clients love it. I mean, just today, I got a phone call from a client of mine who just couldn't believe how easy it was to access everything and how invoices were there. He actually asked me to go back and upload all my prior cases and put it into Crosstracks. I've been doing business with that firm for, about 8 years, so it's a lot of cases. Yeah, if you don't use a case management system, you should, right? You should check it out. Give Crosstracks a shot. Contact Brad or one of the teammates over there, and they'll get you up and running with a trial and see if it's for you. If you have used Crosstracks and it's been a while and you're not happy with the system that you're in, go check them out. They're doing a lot of really cool new things, and see if it's right for you. If you're unhappy with the system that you're in right now, contact them. The ability for them to roll your system into their system is very easy. Again, you guys know they've been sponsoring this program, and I can't say enough good things about them, but make your own decision, right? Give it a shot on your own and see if it's right for you.
What do you do when you get calls for bug sweeps? Did you know USABugSweeps.com, the #1 TSCM provider in the country, pays you a 20% commission for converted sales leads? Stop turning money away. USABugSweeps.com uses top-rated technology, and they cover all of the United States. So save time and make money today. Contact USABugSweeps.com and mention PIP20. PI Perspectives. Do you work with an insurance agency that takes the time to give you the personal attention you deserve? Well, contact Michelle Knoll and her team to get the best customer service and attention available. You never need insurance until you really need insurance. So keep yourself and your business protected. Contact Michelle at mknoll@amoscorp.com. Did you hear about the latest issue of PI Magazine? Friend of the show, Andrea Roscoe, has been named PI Magazine's Investigator of the Year. Congrats, Andrea. It's well-deserved indeed. This issue is available today.
And welcome back to PI Perspectives. This is your host, Matt Spaier. I am here with Dave Spencer, the soon-to-be president of the Associated Licensed Detectives of New York State. Dave, how are you?
Good, very good.
Welcome back to the program. So, obviously, we just talked a little bit about you being on the board. You've been on the board for a bit, and you've kind of moved your way up. I think you had the honor of being treasurer for many years. Actually, you held that spot for more than one term. So God bless you, sir.
Well, and secretary before that, and that wasn't bad. Being a treasurer and jumping in, we had to make a lot of changes. So that was hell for a while.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing. So you've got an association that started in 1950. It is truly one of the oldest nonprofit investigator associations out there. I know everyone you talk to always says theirs is the oldest, but I really think that ALDONYS is actually the oldest.
Yeah.
Um, and you've got this this push with technology, how things have changed, right? So there is a certain way that business was done when it started, and it evolved over the time. But there has been need over the years to kind of roll with the punches here and get with technology, and it's been interesting. I joined the board in 2007. I was I think at large was my first position of director at large, and then I filled your secretary spot when you moved up to treasurer. So I remember like you had this folder, and you go, here you go, and you handed me this big portfolio, full of paperwork, and I'm like, this is not going to do. So I like scanned everything. I'm like, I'm getting rid of this thing, and
Yeah.
really digitized everything, and
Thank God.
yeah, thank God. And what was interesting too is at one point we had like a third party doing our bookkeeping and doing our membership and things like that. And even like we found that wasn't really working well either. Like we did for a few years, but you know, just not having your finger on the pulse of membership and what's going on, you could tell the difference. And I forget who it was, if it was Gil Alba or one of the Mario Doyle or one of those guys said, you know, we no more of this. We're moving away. I think it was Gil actually that may have done it, which meant more responsibilities and duties for your board members, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, good times.
It
Um,
was an absolute nightmare. Like you said, we had third party people doing everything under the sun.
right.
And as a result, the treasurer never reconciled the books. And we had a CPA that wanted to know where every single stamp went. So
Sure. Sure.
it was a nightmare. And now we've got the QuickBooks involved with the treasury, and you've got the digital stuff for all the other stuff.
Right. So, I mean, like being on a board and having those responsibilities it's a balance, right? So you're running your own business and you're not getting paid for any of this either, right? So, you know, people that are good at doing this stuff, you got to have the heart to serve, right?
Yeah.
And you got to have patience, and you got to be able to deal with issues, right? There, you know, over the time, there's been some ethical issues that have come up too, where now the board's got to discuss what's going on. But that's the important. That's why you got to have it, holding yourselves up to a higher standard of professionalism. You know, we have a code of ethics that everyone that joins, you know, the state association is bound by those code of ethics. And if you violate it, you're going to get called down on it. Now, what does that mean? Are you going to go to jail? No, you're not going to go to jail. But, you know, are you going to get tossed from the association? Possibly, you know,
Yep.
is it going to affect your ability to network? It could, you know, so why take the chance? And, you know, the thing that I love about it too is just, you know, when you're calling on somebody in a state association to sub out work to, you know, you're going to get a
Yeah.
fair price. They're not going to jip you, right? Because they're part of the association. They've been vetted, right? So,
Right.
well, first of all, you know, they're licensed, right? Uh,
Yep.
and you know, they're a legitimate business. And there is that code that, hey, you know, you don't mess with another, um, um, state association member, right? You know, don't
Right.
throw them a ridiculous bill. Don't do that. You know, like, you know, there's accountability on that, and you want to be able to foster those relationships. I know, like, I've had instances where I've called you on a Friday and I'm like, hey man, I got something
Yep.
upstate that, you know, I can't get up there, but I need it done like quickly, and you've jumped on
Yep.
it and handled it, and that's happened more than once. And you know, it even, I think it meant you hopping in the car and you driving like an hour and a half because, you
Yeah.
know, nowhere's close anywhere where you live.
Yep.
But you know, that kind of stuff happens, and that's the beauty of it, right? And one of the challenges that I know you and I have talked about, especially in New York, is because New York is so huge. It's almost like it's bifurcated, right? Upstate and downstate.
Yes.
And we want to get away from that. So why don't you tell me a little bit about what your thoughts are coming in for presidency, what you want to see happen?
Being from the center of the state, just going to our meetings in New York City really kind of wipes out 2 days. Because if whether we drive or take a train, it's going to be 4 to 6 hours minimally. So if we leave, say, 11 o'clock in the morning, we get down to New York, run to a restaurant, have a board meeting, have a meeting, have to run back to Grand Central or Penn Station and zip back up here. and you get home like 4 o'clock in the morning sometimes, depending on the train schedules and whatnot. So
Wow.
it really wipes out 2 days. So it's really tough to make any functions that we have. And so my vision is, like one of our board members from Syracuse, he says, the only thing us upstate people get out of this is a piece of paper and a pen.
Right.
And we really can't bring them in. I mean, somebody coming from Buffalo, that would be like a 3-day journey for them, because they got to go all the way to Albany, then south to New York.
Right.
And I know that, I've spoken to them a couple of times, and they love to be more of a part of the organization. So I'm hoping with the technology, we can now bring them into the board meetings. I can have an active role in the organization. And that'll also increase their networking capabilities, because we don't really see them. We don't really hear from them, but we know they're out there. So
Yeah.
I know we've got some people up in the North Country that we've never heard from.
Right.
So I'm hoping we can kind of tie all that in and better the organization.
No, I think so. I mean, extending that arm and really, I think there are plenty of investigators up there that don't even know that we exist. Right.
Yeah.
That's the other thing too. And oddly enough, with this year being the year that it's been, right, this is probably one of our bigger years for recruiting. So I guess folks have been at home on their computers and all that, and they have really made the push to join their state association. So and there are benefits to it, even if we're not getting together in person, and that is a good portion of it, right? That sit down, have a meal together, type of thing. But the having a state association is really, really important, not just on the networking thing. And you had mentioned like, oh, we get as a piece of paper and all that. Yeah, I get that. But what you're also getting is you're getting representation up in Albany in your state,
Yes.
Legislator. So we do have a lobbyist, which not all investigator state associations actually have a lobbyist, but we have one, and we pay for it, but we have him. And that's important, because when there are bills and there are things that could potentially affect our bottom line, right, the way we operate our business, it's good to know that we can make a phone call and have somebody. I mean, like when COVID hit, I had conversations with our guy. Called him up and said, hey, are we investigators or not investigators? Because, my role in the association is handling membership. So I'm getting emails from members saying, do we have to close down or can we stay open? Like, what's the deal? And I'm like, I don't know. let me call Fred. Right? So, and then, Tom Ruskin put out an announcement and all that. And, we did work back channel, and that's what people don't realize. Like, there's a lot of back channel stuff that goes on, that just because you're not hearing from us doesn't mean there isn't things going on. Tom was involved in doing that, and he was involved in trying to contact with contact tracing. Right. We had discussed whether or not that was going to make sense to have investigators do it. Everything made sense except the paycheck. So yeah, I mean, these are good things that you're bringing up here, and obviously that idea of bringing everybody together is definitely something that's always been a passion for you. I know you've been advocating to do in-person training up in upstate, and opening it up for people from that area to come in. So there was something that took place many years ago. It was Vernon Downs, I think, right?
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about that. What was that about?
Vernon Downs is a racino. They have a racetrack there, a nice casino, and Vernon Downs is quite near me. And in New York State, the New York State Thruway runs east to west, and Route 81 interstate goes from north to south, and that's kind of at the crossroads, so it'd be convenient for anybody traveling.
Right.
And I don't know how we did it, but I think let me see. I can't remember who. Somebody sent out invitations to every PI in that area, and we got a lot of new members coming in. They didn't even know we existed.
Right. That's what
and
I'm
so
saying.
they come in. We gave them coffee and Danish and whatnot. Had some great speakers involved, and he actually did some role playing. Gil did a little role playing thing.
Of course he did.
Of course.
Anybody that knows Gil Alba knows that probably happened.
Yeah. And we got some new members out of that, and I think they've stuck around. Well, Mark Garner for one.
Yeah, Mark's amazing. I love Mark.
Yep.
Shout out to Mark Garner. So yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. And what's unfortunate was we were starting to have conversations about doing that again, like literally, like on the on the point of really starting to organize and get together, then COVID happens, and it's like, oh,
Yep.
okay. I know
Yep.
we were talking about doing two, right? We wanted to do one upstate and one downstate. So,
Right.
um,
Right.
and the wheels were just starting to turn on that when they got shut off, unfortunately. So,
Yep.
and I've seen some associations go digital, and who knows, maybe that may be an option for next year. Um, but that
Yeah.
in-person thing, we'll get there one day. uh,
Yeah. Let's hope so.
so it's been a bit.
And what was nice about Vernon Downs is some of the people who traveled came in early, so they caught the horse racing, and they also got free plays at the casino. And I think one of our guys ended up with $150.
Oh, there you go.
So
That's cool. You never know, right? I never heard the term racino, so that's pretty cool.
yep,
Uh,
racetrack and casino.
a little bit of everything, right?
Yep.
And in that area, I mean, you can theoretically get people from Pennsylvania come, even if they wanted to come,
Oh, sure,
uh,
sure.
or people come down from Canada even.
Yep.
Um,
I hear
so
they're pretty active up there.
yeah, being an investigator in Canada is really, really interesting because there's really their hands are really tied for research. It's very hard for them to actually develop information. Getting
Really?
information from their motor vehicles is really difficult as well. Yeah, I had a guy on in April, a guy named Corey, who was up in Ontario, and just him talking about what it was like to do investigative work. It's not easy. It's much different than the United States. Um,
Hmm.
and that brings us back to the whole data privacy thing, right? So we can do these certain things today, but who knows where it's going to be tomorrow, which is
Right.
why your state association is really important, especially ones that have lobbyists, because you need the lobbyists making sure that we have the right to do these things, because
Right.
one day they may just say no more, no more credit report headers, for anybody.
Yep.
And, could happen, when a judge's son gets killed or, something happens, there's
Yep.
there's a big push for it. And, these things have happened. And now with the change on top with politics too, nobody knows. So it'll be real interesting to see.
I remember when we had access to cell phone records, and that got shut down really quick.
Yeah. Yeah, well, when you abuse something, so it's not going to be around. So, yeah, it is what it is. So
Yep.
tell me about like some of your other ideas that you have in place. And we do have a strong board. The board that's coming in, they're good people that really, really, love the association. They love being a part of it. I mean, there are people that aren't technically on the board anymore that are still kind of on the board,
Yep.
helping out, which is amazing. So what are some more of your ideas?
um, More of our ideas. I first of all, I have to say that when you rise through the chairs in an organization, you wonder what's going to happen in the future, and I feel very confident you're going to do a fine job, and whoever follows you, because we've got a lot of people that are waiting in the wings to move up, and we've had some really good presidents, and I hope in a couple of years somebody looks back and says, "Yeah, Dave did okay." So,
Didn't screw it up,
um,
right? That's always the thing. Like, he didn't break it. Good job.
yeah, let's hope not.
Right, right.
Um, I don't know if we'll ever return to the membership that we used to have, but that would be nice.
Yeah, yeah,
This COVID thing is a real game changer. So
yeah. I mean, that's the other thing, right? To see who's actually still in business once the smoke clears. Um, we want to be able to help those that are still there, and that also means there'll be work for the folks that are still around, right? Because the work still needs to get done.
yeah,
That's one of the things that I've noticed, right? When we did have the shutdown, and then we had the floodgates open back up. I mean, it's just been barnstormer, even especially like the last month and a half. And now why, because possibly they're talking 4 to 6 weeks shutdown, which theoretically
yeah,
probably won't be till February anyways, but still, they're trying to get all the work in, because it may happen.
yeah.
Who knows?
I know a lot of the guys are really changing their business. We have a friend who has an office in a very high rent district, and he says, I just can't afford this anymore with the COVID thing. And he says, I'm going to let my lease expire. I've redone a room in my house. He says, I just can't maintain what we got.
Yeah,
So
yeah. No, I think everybody's doing that, in general. I think you're going to see, I mean, that's happening in New York City big time. The vacancies in New York City, it's alarming as you're walking down
Yeah,
the street to see all the signs of space that's available, all the places that are boarded up. It's really, it's sad. There's no other word for it. It's sad. New York used to
yeah,
be, just a vibrant, busy place. And it's starting to make that return, but now who knows,
yeah,
because now businesses have to shut down at 10 p.m. That's the latest here, that the restaurants can't be open, gyms can't be open, and Thanksgiving no more than 10 people. I don't know how they're going to enforce that, but if you buy a turkey that feeds 14, you're in trouble. You're probably been blacklisted. So be careful, people.
I think my greatest fear is when we decide to have our meetings, we're going to have to do them, you know, via Zoom or something like that. And all I can envision is our board member sitting there with a TV tray eating like we would normally do for our
Yeah,
meetings.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. Tom
I
Ross,
don't know.
he'll send appetizers to everybody. Mozzarella sticks delivered to each person. Tom's a good guy.
I don't know what the future holds, but
Yeah.
we're just going to have to make the best of it. And for a few people like you and myself and others, we just have to keep pushing forward as best we can.
Oh, absolutely. And roll with it, and that's the thing, we don't know. I mean, listen, we had conversations about our person of the year dinner, which is a big, huge event for us, a big moneymaker for us. And do we do it? Do we not do it? Is the venue going to guarantee that if it gets canceled, that they're going to refund us?
Yeah,
We we couldn't get guarantees from them, and it's like we had to make the decision not to do it. And then there's a question of like, okay, are we going to have everyone sign waivers if we are able to do it, that they're not going to sue anybody? Can we, as a nonprofit association, get insurance for this? Because that's the
yeah,
other thing too. I think a lot of these associations that talk about live events, like there is an insurance factor behind that. Is that particular event insurable? And
right.
I don't think so. Or if it is, it's probably a very high policy.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
just don't know. It's
We'll have to cross that bridge when we come to it.
yes, I think that's one of the challenges that we'll come to. And I think some of the other cool things like that we implemented, or even kind of brought back, was the relationship with PI Magazine, and giving out the
Oh
subscription
yeah.
to members,
Yep.
right? So that was something that was very, very cool. Thank you, Jim and
Yeah.
Nicole, for that. Where it's just this little something extra, right? You get you pay your membership. What are you getting out of it more than just a pin and a piece of paper? Well, now you get a digital issue of PI Magazine, right? So that's
Yep.
that, right? That's cool.
Yep.
My thing, Investigators Toolbox, again, offering incentives, discounts for ALDONYS members to join, where they're going to get some money back, just a way to defer the payment of your membership to the state association. That's something available too. And I think that these are things that as a board we'll probably explore more, right? We're
Yeah.
trying to give back, trying to do the educational things, and really try and do something more for our membership. I know that was something that I mean, you and I were having those discussions like early this year, right? Let's do something. It's going to be our turn next. Like, what do you want to do here? What do you see, right?
Yep.
And my role in this is to fall right behind you, right? It's your vision, whatever you want to do, we'll support you. Left and right, whatever we need to do here. So another
Like I said before, the organization, you can have a lot of resources at your fingertips.
right,
I don't have a lot of expertise in certain areas, but
right,
now because I belong to ALDONYS, I can contact somebody who does have that expertise.
sure,
And also with your investigator toolbox, that's a huge resource for all kinds of things.
right.
And the benefits grow exponentially the more you can become involved.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like being involved and being able to do this. Like, so NCISS, another association I'm a part of, NALI's another one. So like I had something literally, I don't know, 3 weeks ago in Alabama. It was a one car accident. It was a tractor trailer had a blowout and ended up crashing, flipping over a few times. And it was a question of a product's liability with the tire, like one of the front tires, right? I'm not going down to Alabama. I'm certainly not hopping on a plane and having the quarantine
Yep.
and all that. I literally couldn't, even if I want to, I couldn't. Right. But through NCISS, I was able to find somebody who was probably about an hour, hour and a half away. And he got out there the next day and he did everything that we wanted to do. And he did a great job. My client was happy. He couldn't believe that I found somebody like within 2 hours of him giving me the assignment. I had it covered, and
Yep.
that's the power of, these types of associations. I've gotten calls on Friday, like, I got somebody up in a hospital in Binghamton. It's a big, huge case. And, we're afraid one of the local attorneys is going to go in and get it. He wants to sign up with us. So we got to get up there. Like, can you send somebody up there? Well, I can't go up there. That's a 3.5 hour drive for me, but I can get somebody up there easy.
Yep.
And I did. I don't know if that may have been you. It may have been you, may have been another person. But instances like that have happened. And for me, if I'm driving 3 hours or 4 hours to get somewhere, I just want to get the work done and turn around and go back home.
Right.
There have been times where I've had to do that 4 hours each way. Right.
Yep.
I'm not as focused as the person who only has to drive a half hour or
Right.
an hour, who's going to take the time that they need to take to develop the information they need to develop. Right. So that's the advantage of using somebody locally. Right. Or one of the
Right.
advantages anyways. You're going to get the job done, and they're probably going to take a little bit longer doing it than you would because you're really interested in just turning around and getting back home. And through a state association they're going to be vetted and they're going to be professionals, right? And chances are you may actually know the people. Like I have lots of contacts with people up north now that I know that I've met through ALDONYS. And it's like, oh, Buffalo, no problem, I know who I'm calling.
Yep.
Utica, no problem, I got it. Syracuse, no problem. And just being able to not say no to those things. You want to, also at the end of the day, you want to service your client and get things done. And
Right.
being able to have that extended web is it's a game changer, really, if you use it properly.
Speaking of NCISS, I really have to congratulate you for becoming the director of Region 2. That's a great feat.
Yeah, that was an honor. They we got some good plans, and the guy who I'm replacing is amazing. He's Paul Ciccarella, who actually came and spoke at an ALDONYS dinner. I think it was the end of last year. He's actually a state senator now. Yeah. So he's
Really?
a senator in Connecticut. Yeah. Congratulations to Paul. And Paul was actually, I think, was like my second guest or third guest. He was very early on. He came on the show and talked. So so now he's Senator Ciccarella, and he still has his PI business, but he moved up actually in NCIS to become a VP. And
Wow.
so I slid in to handle his thing. So I'll be covering like New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, like the whole New England area, which is great because I think state associations should be working together and doing things together. So I'm hoping that by having that connection, we can start doing these joint events. And even if it is an online thing, like how great would it be to network with like Connecticut and Pennsylvania and New Jersey, like all the states that we shouldn't be traveling to apparently from one another. That we could just get on a Zoom call and really start fostering those relationships, because there are times where our cases will bring us over the border, or we've got a vehicle that is registered in that particular state that's had an accident, and I don't have I'm not set up for Connecticut DMV, but Paul is, and he's gotten me information very quickly because he's got his account and does what he needs to do. And there are guys all over the place. Up in Boston, John LaJoy has helped me on cases. I've used people up in Alan Goodman up in Maine. It's fantastic, right? Hey, Alan, I need a DMV. No problem. Here you go. A quick turnaround. And those are the things, like, you get a plate and you got to get that information. It's like, I don't know where to begin. Well, let me reach out to, a state association and find an investigator there and figure out where it starts. So there are definitely big benefits to it. So, well, hey, I think we're going to wind down over here. I do really appreciate you coming on, Dave. And I'm excited to work with you. Yeah, I'm excited. We, like I said, we've known each other for quite some time. We've kind of come up through the ranks together, and it's so great to see you get your shot here. It's well deserved. You've put your time in, sir. You handled that crappy treasurer job, which is something I would never want to do. So
Yeah.
God bless you. And I just, I love that. I love that we're going to be safe in your arms. Like, I just feel like you really have the best interest in doing the right thing here. And I know you're going to be proactive, which is pretty awesome too. And, I may nudge you a little bit too, and that's just my personality. So,
And that's good. That's good. I appreciate that.
It's good. We work really well together. And I share the same passion that you do about uniting the state and just bringing, upstate and downstate together. And now we literally have no excuse because we can all just jump on the Zoom call.
Right.
So if somebody was interested in hiring you to actually do investigative work, how would they get a hold of you?
If you just pull up Google private investigators in Utica, I'm going to come up because there's not that many of us.
Right.
My phone number is 315-792-8015. I've got a website, www.ci-home.com, and that's got all the services and my background and things like that.
Great. Well, Dave, I will see you eventually someday in person, but I'm sure we'll be doing some sort of Zoom meeting in the near future.
I'm sure we will be.
To our state association. So, folks, if you are not part of a state association, please consider joining it. If you're in New York, obviously ALDONYS is the way to go. But each state has their own association, right? And it's really a game changer. And it's not a big investment, for you to get involved with it. And it does support the legislative side. There are many things that happen that you don't realize, right? Your ability to do background searches, your ability to have access to this amazing information is because of your state association advocating and making sure that you have a voice when these laws are written. You don't realize that. So it's important to make that commitment to your state association, to NCISS, those kinds of associations. You really want to make sure you're supporting. So, all right. So Dave, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll catch everybody on the next show. Take care.
Thank you, Dave, for jumping on with Matt. If you're in New York, you should really consider joining ALDONYS. They have a great lobbyist up in Albany that fights to protect your rights to operate your business. We'd also like to thank Six Figure Investigator Marketing, Amos, Crosstracks, and USABugSweeps.com for sponsoring our show. Have you checked out investigatorstoolbox.com yet? Remember, it only takes 41 cents a day to unlock the future of investigations. Now make an investment in your business and yourself today. The 25% legacy discount ends at the end of this month. Use code PIP 201836 to save even more. If you have a question or comment about the show, email Matt at matthews@satellitepi.com. You can also find him on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. We'd like your feedback to bring you the best shows possible. And we'll be back next Monday with a new show. Make sure you tune in and stay safe out there.